Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about a more serious topic that we don't really discuss that much on the channel, and that is cheaters, right, and dodgy stuff. Now, I take this pretty seriously. If you want to, talk about, like, someone who's cheating, right, I don't really like vague posting that much. You have the receipts, bring them out, let everyone see, let's make it, let people know, that's the big thing, so that anyone who plays them in the future will know, right? Will be aware that this guy either is a cheater or he's at least sus, right? Really sus. Let's be more aware of what he's doing or what they're doing, and maybe if we need to, call the judge for situations that arise. But let's kind of start off here. We'll read the announcement that Bushiroad released today, and this is an announcement regarding the Bushiroad Championship Series 2023 World Finals. I'm just going to read this whole thing before talking about other stuff. So first off, we have been made aware of a case of repeated improper shuffling at the recently concluded Bushiroad Championship Series 2023 World Finals, and we would like to apologize for not realizing it during the tournament. While such an incident would warrant a penalty during a tournament, we will not be imposing any further penalties as the issue was only discovered after the tournament had concluded. We will be taking measures to improve our oversight in tournaments and avoid a recurrence. We would also like to remind all players that as decks are a non-public area, care should be taken when shuffling to avoid card information from being visible to any player. We kindly thank you for your support and understanding of this matter. So I'm just going to kind of throw it out there because we will be discussing this a lot. The person in question is Man Long, who came second at the V Premium World Finals in 2023, well, this year, and made his debut in the Western stage at least, on BRO, right? And then translated it to a Daivangasai win with a team, right? But don't harass the team at all. I'm sure the other two players, I'm pretty sure, are pretty legit. And then after that, did well at Indonesia, where he came like third place in Standard and second place in V Premium, right? Now, for me, personally, when I read this announcement, there's some okay things and some things I just disagree with, right? But it's fine. It's fine to disagree, right? First off, I think the punishment, there should be a punishment. I just think cheaters should be gone, but I guess Bushiroad doesn't really see it that way. Maybe they need more kind of, how do you say, more proof, like 100% undeniable proof that, Man Long cheated. If you look at the people who have gotten banned in the past, Helene, clear kind of, how do you say, cheating, where she just picked up cards and put them in his hand. And then I think like Vince and Weiss got caught with like less cards in the deck, and then I think he admitted it. So if you admit it, there it is, right? And I think Nasimaru as well, on the JP side, he got busted because he did admit to cheating. They all confessed, right? Well, this one, I don't think there was any confession. And although, right, I'm going to show you a lot of clips where dodgy stuff has happened, you could maybe say that, they're still not 100%, convinced. I don't know. This is just my thoughts, right? I don't agree with that there was no punishment. What I do agree with is that this news at least got out. They're acknowledging that they have issues, right? They're apologizing that they didn't catch it during the tournament. They should have been much more vigilant. And yeah, it's just remind players that don't cheat, right? I guess that's a given, but at least a statement was made so that now we can let people know, right? Letting people know is the most important part. Now, you might be wondering, there has been so many cheating happening along. Like, if you've been checking Twitter, every week you'll be seeing like One Piece TCG. There's a new cheater on an online tournament, all that, and it's bad. It's bad. So I think it's still important that we call out cheaters, right? But we do it in a mature way. It's not a witch hunt, right? I want to preface this by saying that if people are defending, the player in question, right? Since he hasn't been banned, I don't think it's fair to them if they still think he's legit. Sure, right? But with these findings, with this document, I'm gonna link the document that I put in. That I have in the description below, so you can check it out as well if you want to. It has all the links to all the timestamps where I checked the VODs in Indonesia and the Worlds, where you can kind of decide for yourself. If you can decide for yourself if Man Long is dodgy or not. Personally, I think he is. I think he's doing the dodgy. So that's my stance. But this is up to you. You decide if he's dodgy or not, and come to a conclusion like that, right? So let's, for the next section, I think I'm just gonna go through all the VODs. I'm gonna explain to you how this is done, right? How you know, Manlong kind of cheats. But I'm gonna be reading the document basically, and then just kind of going more into it as well, right? So if you don't actually want to watch this whole clip section, where I'm watching things in 0.25 speed, then you can skip to my conclusion and all that, and have a quick video. But thanks for the clip, right? Thanks for the click and the view. Okay, so if you haven't seen the doco, here it is. It's a long doco. It has everything. I've linked it below. You can go check it out. But we're gonna start looking at videos, because this is the real deal, right? This is the real deal. I'm gonna first state how Manlong does his magic. So how it all started was I heard rumors about Manlong being kind of dodgy from some trusted sources, and you know, guess what happened that weekend? It was BCS Indonesia, and they had VODs where Manlong was playing. So when I started digging into that, that's when I went, man, this looks really wrong. It feels kind of sus. And from there, the entire journey started, and I've been looking at these VODs ever since, trying to see how the magic happens. It's actually not that hard what he does, right? It's not that crazy. So what he does is that he picks up his opponent's deck. You're gonna see it in all these in all these pictures, right? He picks up his opponent's deck, and then as he picks it up, right? As he picks it up, he angles it so that the bottom card quickly faces himself, right? And then, you know, he puts it down, and then he starts shuffling. Now, I want you to do that yourself. It's weird, right? When you pick up your opponent's deck, you're reaching the other side of the table. Normally, just pick it up, bring it towards you, and start shuffling, right? That's how you normally do. You don't pick it up and then just, ooh, what's that? And then just start shuffling. You don't do that, right? So that's already kind of weird. And then after, with Vanguard, right, you can normally see if a card is a trigger or not, because triggers all have, like, they either have something in the top right hand corner, right? It's like a little icon, or at the bottom, they have the yellow, right? It's just a solid yellow. That's a trigger, right? Well, other cards don't have that. So you can immediately know if the bottom card is a trigger or not. And if it's not, you can just kind of shuffle it to the top of the deck, right? If you look at how Manlong shuffles, he just kind of it's just moving the bottom card to the top of the deck, right? And then if the bottom is a trigger, he just kind of moves cards that aren't triggers to the bottom. He does kind of weird sideways shuffle, and then he'll move that card to the top. So some of these games are really crazy. You'll see the opponent just not trigger at all, right? And that is like pretty good, right? If your opponent's not triggering in standard or V, you don't lose. And let's kind of just talk about the win conditions, or not a win. Let's talk about the lose conditions in V. How do you, as a really strong player, lose in V? It's literally just like double crits, right? Or early game crits, which speed up the game. If you don't have to worry about getting critted in the early game or double crits ever, I think you'll be an insane V premium player, right? You'll just not, it's impossible for you to die, right? And with Manlong's kind of skill, right? I do think he's a very skilled player, but with that comes knowledge. So when you play matchups, you'll know what your opponent has to do, and times where you can do the dodgy, where then you can like manipulate like the worst options for your opponent, because he is manipulating his opponent's deck when they present it for the cut. He'll shuffle it and do his magic. So we'll see it here. Here is one of the Swiss matches between Manlong versus Peanut Butter Jelly. It is Shadow Paladin versus an Ange, right? So with Ange, it's kind of good, right? With the V Premium format right now, there are two decks that on attack will search their deck for something. So Gurgit will look at top 5, call 2 cards, then shuffle their deck. Ange will on attack, search their deck for a card and call it. And then after that, after they have to shuffle, they'll have to give you the deck, right? So then you can then manipulate their triggers so that when they trigger, it's blanks. So let's just kind of do like see what I'm. So I cut these out into sequences, right? These are just main sequences. If you want to watch this again, like you need to watch it at 0.25 speed on YouTube. If you download the VOD as well, you can watch it even slower. So, but I think it's important that you see what's happening. Like, well, like it needs to be slowed down for you to see the exact action. So I think this is the correct time. I've also muted the volume just because we'll be listening to Outer Orange and JJ talk in 0.25 speed. And although it is very funny and enjoyable, it can be quite distracting. All right, so let's start watching the sequence. So the deck gets presented. The deck is going to get presented to Manlong, right? And here it is. So here comes the first situation. He's picking up the deck this way and he's looking down. That's already a bad sign, right? I'll quickly stop it a bit. You can clearly see the deck is facing him. The bottom card of the deck is facing him, right? So let's see what happens. So he turns it around. Then he moves an orange to the bottom. You see that was an orange? And then now he just moves the card. This is not a real shuffle. This is just moving the bottom pile to the top. But here's something special. He misses the card. He misses the card, right? He misses the card. But he recovers. He recovers like a pro. You can see here that, you know, the piles are separate. So it's easy to know where the card, or where his pile is, right? Where the card he wants to put at the top is. He just recovers. Boom. Moves at the bottom to the top of that pile. And then just does a fake mash. So this mash, like, combines the two piles, but the top card just stays at the top. And then you give it to your opponent. And then guess what PBJ here is gonna trigger? Remember, it was an Ange that got moved to the bottom. Where do you think it went? It will probably... I think it's gonna be an Ange. I think it's gonna be an Ange. I might have to speed this up a bit until the drive check, because it's at 0.25 speed. So drive check. Come on, PBJ, you can do it. It's an Ange. It's an Ange. There it is. Alright, so in this sequence, we're gonna see Manlong do another peek. So deck is given, right? Is the peek? Look at that peek. With the Ange matchup, you have to know, because you can call like Lieselots and Matoas, you need to know what to put on the top of the deck, right? Because the Lieselot, if they call a Lieselot, that means if you put a non-trigger to the top, then it'll call like a good card. But if you put a trigger to the top, then, you know, they call a bad card. But at the same time, if they call something that doesn't draw or anything like that, or they don't want to use something in the sequence, then it's fine to put like a normal card. Here, the Ange searches, attacks, calls a Lieselot, and he's gonna give the card, the deck, to Manlong to shuffle. Okay. So you're gonna see the common stuff where, you know, deck is presented, Manlong picks up, and then boom, takes a peek. Right, it's really quick. We're at 0.25 speed here, right? Then he does the move, right? There was no shuffle this time. Clearly, just a move to the top. So bottom is probably what Manlong wants to be at the top, right? So deck is now given back. Does the fake mash again. You can see, like, you can kind of clearly see the top cards just aren't changing at all, right? They haven't changed at all in any of these mashes. Now you gives it to the opponent. Now Lieselot is going to call here, because remember, he called a Lieselot. What is really bad? Call for Lieselot. It's a trigger. So what do you think is at the top of PBJ's deck right now? Boom, look at that. So good. It's a trigger. How does he do it? It's too good. It's too good, okay? So call the worst thing possible. You also have to understand the deck that Manlong is playing. He's playing Luard. It's a deck where your opponent wants PGs, right? So even if your opponent draws, like, just triggers, it will help defend, but Luard will reach a point where it gets so many force markers and gets so much power that, you know, it's PG or die. It's PG or die. You can see, like, a drive check here. It's blank, right? The second one, blank. Wow. So bad, right? Quite unfortunate. Quite unfortunate. Like, it could be real that he moved more than one card to the top, because you're going to see in other games where he totally manipulates a double check, right? So yeah, let's go. Let's move to the next sequence. So this one actually requires some knowledge of the game state. So this is a Sedna call. He's doing a shuffle after a Sedna call. Looks at the bottom card. We've seen this many times. Immediately goes to the move, right? So this card that was at the bottom is favorable for Manlong here, right? And what could it be? So here, like, you haven't progressed to the battle phase. You see PBJ call down an Aqua. What does Aqua do? It bounces and draws, right? So what does PBJ draw? it draws a trigger. You will see. Now, why is this significant, right? So, remember, Anj has another like search effect when it attacks. So you can technically put something like a trigger, for example, that's unfavorable for a Bermuda Triangle to draw into here. And, you know, like I said before, triggers are good, 15k shield, but against Luard, you want the perfect guards, right? That's the only thing that matters. Luard gets so big that, you know, 15k shield will still be like 3-card guards. So in this situation, some knowledge is required. Bermuda has a lot of cards that can draw, right? And you still have an insulation in that when, you know, the Anj attacks, you can still stack that deck and get rid of the crit from the top card of the deck. So this one does require some thought, but you know how many times Manlong has won BRO with an Anj deck or topped with it? It's quite a lot. So I think he actually knows how the deck works. But that's not all, right? Because, you know, Aqua has bounced a Sedna. Guess what you can play next? You can play the Sedna. Let's just see it. So I think he plays a Sedna, right? And what Sedna does, again, look at top 5. You can grab a card, and then you will do another shuffle, right? You'll do another shuffle. So let's kind of skip PBJ shuffle. We're just waiting for the time when... Okay, deck is presented to Malon. Look at this. Bam! Another check. So we're going to go into the next sequence here. This is on a Matoa call from the Anj. So what's going to happen here is the Matoa will be called, then both players will draw a card and call a card, right? Or is it call a card and draw? Basically, the top card will be a draw first. So deck is presented to Manlong. So Manlong is going to do a cut now. And this one looks like a normal cut, right? It's a normal cut. He doesn't pick up the deck. This is what he should be at least doing. But then he reveals a Sistico, and that gets moved to the bottom and then moved to around the top, right? It's pretty crazy. Does that normal shuffle he does, right? And he's looking down while doing the shuffling, which is also sus. You shouldn't be looking down when shuffling, right? You should be looking at another way, right? So now PBJ is going to draw a card for Matoa, right? And he's going to put it to the top of his hand. Let's see. Is he going to do the thing now? Again, 0.25 speed. Here's a draw. Gets put to the top of the deck. And then we're going to see what the card is. But it's like not a Sistico. We're going to see it doesn't look like a Sistico at all, right? Where's the Sistico? I wonder where it is, right? Let's kind of just skip forward a bit to the drive check. Bam. Whoa, there's the Sistico. That's so good, right? How do you do that? And the second check, another blank. I think it's really been like blank city for PBJ, right? If you look at all his drive checks, really not much has been going on, right? Really not much has been going on. Again, you'll see in the Indonesia vids, he's able to stack 2 cards top. I think he can stack more, right? And then after these drive checks, PBJ loses because when you drive check basically blanks for the whole game, you can't guard, right? You can't guard. So that's it for Swiss. Manlong, the only other game that Manlong got featured in was in the finals, but in that one, there were way more judges. Well, there was at least one judge watching the game, and you know, it looks like there was more scrutiny. They were doing judge cuts, right, which is good. Right, judge cuts actually just stopped this from happening at all. So I don't think he would have cheated in that. But he actually did, right? He actually did. Because he does do the weird shufflings. So let's kind of take a look at that. And this is in the finals. This is the finals, guys. The grand finals of the whole day. Let's jump to the first instance. This is against Rickson. And to be fair, these ones are actually better. Because if you notice, Manlong is sitting on the left. And this one allows you to... This camera here sees more of the field. So when he picks up the deck, you'll be able to see him look at the deck on this camera. On the right one, it's a bit closer, so you can't see. But here's the first kind of... Rickson done his shuffle, and he's presented to Manlong. Let's see what happens. And we're gonna see the classic. All right, we're gonna see the classic. So, boom. Whoa, there it is. He's looking this way, right? He's looking this way. He's looking down. You can see the deck is this way. He's looking at the deck. Yeah, isn't that crazy? But these ones actually don't matter much because I think a judge just cuts it after he gives it back to his opponent. Judge does a cut, the thing stacked at the top. Probably isn't there. But I guess you can kind of stack good things that your opponent wants at the top, and then if the judge cuts it, then it goes to the bottom. So there's still that kind of theory going on. Let's look at another one, which was going to be largely the same thing. So Rickson, again, presents his deck. He's going to pick it up. Hey, look at this. Look at this. He's looking this way. The deck is facing up here. I don't know. I think that's pretty sus, right? That's pretty sus. And then he's going to do his shuffle. And even if he doesn't stack the deck, I'm gonna be honest, looking at the bottom card of your deck like this repeatedly, gaining information is already bad, right? Is already bad. So you shouldn't be doing this, right? You really shouldn't be doing this. And we have another one as well. Let's kind of take a look at this. So 3 times in the grand finals. So again, presented. Boom. Oh, look at that. That angle's weird. You can even see it here, right? So 3 times that Manlong has peaked at the bottom card of the deck. Now, there is also one other really weird sequence that occurs in that finals. And that is kind of before this. So you will see this. Manlong is shuffling his deck, and then he opens his deck again and takes a look. Right? He takes a look, and then he moves a card, or moves some cards to the top. Right? This is 100% a no-no. Right? There is no need for any player to rearrange their deck when shuffling their deck. And this is a big red flag in a lot of games. When you see players open the deck, right, for a search, they'll search for the card, grab it, then shuffle the deck. There is no need to rearrange cards at all, right? I know in Pokemon, when players do their prize search at the beginning of the game, they do kind of rearrange their deck to kind of find out what's in their prizes. But then after that, they do a huge shuffle. And, you know, generally that is okay, but you don't rearrange the deck later on in the game. That is the only time they ever do it, right? If you see it in, like, other games like Magic the Gathering and all that, if someone does this, it's really weird. But how does this work, though? Because Rickson is going to do another cut, and then, like, the stack is gone, right? So what actually happens? So here, this is actually going to be more speculation. So take this with a grain of salt. This is going to be more speculation, but let's see what happens. So Manlong does his shuffle, and in this situation, he's in a kind of bad position, right? Because Gurgit has a chance to triple excel and go super hyper mode and make heaps multi-attacks with big power. Generally, you kind of can die. So presents the deck. Rickson does a cut. Rickson's been doing the same cut for pretty much the whole tournament, right? So in a way, you can kind of predict how he's going to cut it. And then here he asks for a judge cut. So the judge is going to come in and do a cut as well. So what happens here? Well, let's kind of just proceed to the next turn. Because the deck size is also very, very small to keep this in mind. But let's look at the damage checks that Manlong gets in this bit. Alright, so here Manlong is going to take a damage. And it's going to be a critical trigger. Right, goes a critical trigger. That's crazy, right? That's pretty good. You need that against all these multi-attacks. But guess what the next trigger is? The next damage check is actually a 6 damage heal. Now, I just want to say that, like, a heal that comes out anywhere here will always be effective because Rickson is at 4 damage. But this is speculation, so take this with a grain of salt. He presents it to Rickson, puts like the heal somewhere, you know, where he like roughly will be at the top part of his deck, gives to Rickson where Rickson does a normal cut as usual, right? So again, be unpredictable with your cuts. Then he presents it back to the head judge and asks to do a judge cut. Judge kind of half reverses the cut, but as long as the heal was like somewhere there, Manlong has a chance of staying alive the next turn, right? Because if you fight against a Gurgit, there is no chance you will live his turns without any sort of damage checks. So you got to play to win, right? And in a way, you got to maybe stack to win. But again, I feel like this is a very, very how do you say it? Very long shot kind of thing. The deck is kind of small though, so it can be kind of slightly more manipulated like that. But again, it is kind of a long shot. This is the most speculative argument I'm gonna make this whole video. So let's kind of just that kind of concludes Worlds, right? And you can probably say that is quite damning, right? A lot of bottom deck peaks, a lot of the bottom card becoming the top. That's crazy, right? But would you believe if I said that there is more, right? And some of them are more damning then I think the world's won. And that is the Indonesia videos. So the Indonesia videos are also in the document. I'm going to kind of go through it. I think the Brian one is actually, the finals of the Indonesia one is way more crazier. But we're gonna do it in order. So first off, we're gonna look at the top 8 match. This is him between Kapen and Manlong, and this one doesn't have player cams, right? So we're not gonna be able to see where they're looking, but I feel like it doesn't really matter where they're looking, right? Because if the bottom card magically becomes the top card all the time, then you know the probability of that happening repeatedly is extremely low. Especially, again, we'll see the same MO that he does. Picks up the deck, looks at the bottom, and then does a dodgy shuffle and moves it to the top, right? That is all the same. So, yeah. If you believe that all of this is luck, though, again, you can probably win like 3 lotteries. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so this is Kapen's on the left, Manlong is on the right. Kapen presents the deck to Manlong. He's finished shuffling his deck, and now Manlong can do a shuffle or a cut, right? So he's gonna pick it up. Now let me remove this. So he's gonna pick it up. Boom. Weird. This is weird, right? Why are you picking up like that? You never pick up a deck like that, right? And from what we can, unfortunately, this is a bit blurry, but I think the bottom card is a Draw Sentinel, right? Just from all the arts that we see from Spike Brothers. So he's gonna now move an agile fullback to the bottom. So like the way it's when you pick it up, it's like. Yeah, you kind of pick it up at an angle so you can, if you're looking down or glancing down, you can kind of see what the card is. Puts to the bottom. Agile fullback is there. And then now he does another shuffle here. I think is this a Rona? Was it Acrobat Verdi? Sorry, it's an Acrobat Verdi to the bottom as well. And then he just kind of moves the cards up again. So since it's at an angle, you can kind of see, like, it's actually easy to see the movement, right? And then does a cut, but it's obviously not that good of a cut because we've been seeing this cut all the time. Top part of the deck doesn't really change. And then gives it back to Kapen, right? And then where's the drive check? I think the drive is at like a couple of seconds. So we're going to see it forward. So because, you know, he does a bunch of things. Okay, so here's the drive check. We have first one is a... looks like an Acrobat Verdi, right? So, you know, blank check, only 1 damage, no crits. So, that's cool. That's the first part of the sus bit. Let's move to the next bit. So, we're going to see all of Kapen's drive check. So again, the next sequence, again, the dodgy, look at this. Pretty dodgy. What do we see at the bottom? I think it's a Rona. It looks like a Rona. He's going to go straight into his shuffle, which is the movement, right? Bottom card movement. Just goes straight, moves it to the top. And then I think this is a single drive, right? This should be a single drive. Gives it to the opponent. We're gonna watch all the entire shuffle, right? Just to kind of ram it in. But it's always the same thing. It's always the same thing. But we're doing it for, I guess, posterity. Gives it back to his opponent. And then now the drive check should be in a couple of seconds. So where are we at? I think it's 7:06. So let's move the 25. Yeah, so here it is. So I think that's a great tour, right? So still a one drive attack. And we will see that Rona. Look, there's the Rona. Wow, it's the same card, right? That's crazy. That's crazy. It's like, and that's not all. So second drive check is a blank. Let's go to 13-16. This is the third turn of the game. All right. Well, third turn of Kapen's game. He rides up to a grade 3, I think. Right? Isn't that crazy? Very nice. He has the 2 force markers. Does the dodgy. Look at that. You see the bottom card? And now we're going to see magic happen. Right? We're going to see magic happen. So Rona gets moved to the second bottom card. And then it's I think there's a grade 1 as well at the bottom. I think it's an Acrobat Verdi. So bottom card is like Acrobat Verdi and Rona. And then we're gonna see some other mashes here. And then soon we will see the movement. Alright, we will see cards move from the bottom to the top. It's like an elevator. Right? It's like an elevator to the top. And then give it back to Kapen. And unfortunately, like, yeah, again, the webcam quality is not very good, but luckily Vanguard cards are beautiful and are very different in terms of colors. So we'll see some crazy nice stuff. There's also one thing that someone pointed out to me that was pretty interesting as well. So Capen's gonna do an attack soon. He's gonna turn his Vanguard sideways. This is gonna be a 13k attack to Manlong. And, like, in Manlong's position, you're so far ahead, right? The only way you will ever lose in this situation is if you no guard and get double critted, right? But why would you ever risk that? It's a 13k swing. You can just throw a 15k down and, you know, guard it. So I think, like, why take the risk? Why take the risk? Your opponent is literally dead at next turn. They've seen no triggers this entire game. They're at 4 damage. You're gonna go full Awad mode. Why would you take this risk? Well, you can take it if you recognize that there is no risk, right? If there is no risk, you don't have to worry. Swings in. Look at this. It's gonna be a guard. Manlong's just gonna guard it. I'm not gonna just gonna kind of skip it, right? Easy guard. And then look at this. All right, here it is. So swings, you know, 13k, right? Nothing. Hey, let's no guard. Let's no guard. I mean, you can no guard if you just feel like you want to take the risk, but you have to remember, again, no drive check, and all the drive checks have been blank. Not many crit triggers are shown. Bit weird that you no guard, but hey, we'll see the triggers soon, right? We'll see the triggers soon. So first check, it's going into. They always turn it sideways. Is that crazy? First check is Rona. And then the grade 1. Alright, that's crazy. That's crazy. Is it grade 1? Or is it... the main thing is that it's blank. It's blank. So, that is the last drive check that Capen does in the entire game. Right, that is the last drive check he does in the entire game. Because next turn, Manlong wins. Because Capen triggered 0. He triggered 0 triggers that entire game. And he's just dead. Right, you're just dead. So that's sad times, right? But let's go to the finals. I like the finals. The finals here is very, very interesting. So this is Brian. Brian's on the left, and Manlong's on the right, right? So this one, you can clearly see bottom's a trigger. And then you see an Abyssal Owl. He did the thing, right? He did the thing where he did the check. Abyssal Owl goes to the bottom. Guess where it goes? Guess where it goes? Boom, 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 boom to the door. You can even see it because of the angle. You can see it, right? You can see, and then he's going to give it back to his opponent. And then guess what Brian is going to drive check soon. He's going to turn it sideways. We all know what's at the top, right? Oh my god. It's an Abyssal Owl. But that's not all. Let's see the cool stuff. So next turn, we're going to see a drive check from Brian in the next sequence here, right? In this sequence, he's gonna do a drive check. And Manlong no guards. That's crazy. And then boom. It's a critical trigger. You know what? Brian actually got a trigger. How did he do it? So there was no deck manipulation for this turn. So he was actually able to get a critical trigger. That's incredible. That's incredible. But I think that is the few times that Brian is ever going to get a trigger this entire game. Because we're going to see all of Brian's drive checks. So let's move on to the next sequence. Picks up the deck. Look at that. Oh, we see a brown one. We see a brown. That was picked it up like that. Very obvious. But brown one's at the bottom. We know brown's at the bottom. And then that's a draw trigger. Right, that's a draw trigger. It's going to do a few more shuffles. Fortunately, they're going to be a bit slow. That's a Morfessa. That Morfessa gets moved to around there. He's trying to slot it in. He's trying to slot it in. It's just above from the bottom, kind of, right? And now that that's done, let's move it to the top. Does the classic shuffle, right? Does the classic shuffle. One more for good measure. Let's give it to Brian. Give it back to Brian. Let's jump forward to the drive check. Right, let's jump forward to the drive check. We're going to see it. Guess what's at the top? Guess what? He's able to do 2. He's able to do 2. That's kind of spoilers, but look at this. Morfessa. Branwen. That's incredible. The next sequence I'm going to show you is kind of funny as well. It's kind of funny. There's only funny ones left, all right? And it's going to go classic Indonesian style, I think. So, shuffling the deck. Alrighty. Alrighty, let's give it to Manlong, right? Looks at it. You can see the angle. There's a Charon at the bottom. And you can already see how there's a Decremps that moves to the bottom as well. And you can kind of see how the connection is getting really bad, right? It's getting really bad. But we're still seeing the classic stuff. But we're going to head to a situation where we won't get to see Brian's drive check because of a bad connection. But we can still know what he triggered. So we know at the bottom, what we saw that went to the bottom was a Decremps and a Charon, right? So I think, can we skip to the drive check? So now he's going to swing with Vanguard. But oh no! The connection, is the connection alive? I only see a hand. Okay, something's happening. Boom. Okay, it's turned sideways. No, it's not. It's not. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Well, they're putting the power. They're putting the power. But yeah, okay. But now it's stopped again. It's stopped again. But it's come back. Kelvin has told me about how Indonesian internet can be really bad. Weerab's internet connection is always terrible. We get to see an action here, right? Funnily enough, this is the only time I think in these games where it really happened. But it's just gonna be a slideshow. It's literally just gonna be a slideshow. Maybe we won't be able to see what gets triggered. But we will, right? Let's see some key points here while the slideshow is continuing. There's 4 damage on Manlong's side. So he pretty much has to guard all of these. The only thing he cannot guard is the Vanguard because everything else has double crit. But I think it's great, right? If you're playing against Luard and you can only take 1 damage, but you know that your opponent will not double trigger, that is the greatest feeling, right? That is the greatest feeling. I think we're just gonna have to skip a bit forward. Okay, hang on. My face in the way, so you can't see this hand. But let's see. Let me move myself. I'll put myself to the right because this top replay keeps on getting in the way. So you can see the Decremps in the hand there. There's only 1 Decremps in Brian's deck. So we saw it in the deck before. It got moved likely to the top and then drive checked. Let's see what was the other card. We get at 1719, right? We'll see the other card. So here I think we get to see no. We see that you can see the Charon, right? So Brian only runs 2 Charons in the deck. We saw one of the Charons. This Charon has been on the field for the whole game. The other Charon was in the deck when we saw the shuffle. So those drive checks that happened that only dealt 1 damage have to have been Decremps and Charon, right? So again, 2 drive checks that were totally blank. Let's go to the final sequence, and probably this is the one where justice is finally served, right? Let's take a look. So this one, we see deck presented, does the dodgy, right? And now we're going to see a Nightmare Painter get moved to the bottom. And then I think a bunch of other stuff as well. There's another card that gets moved to the bottom. Apocalypse Bat, that's right. So that gets moved to around the bottom as well. Is it the second from the bottom? It's around there, right? It's around there. And then we're going to do a shuffle up to the top. A move to the top. And then a fake mash shuffle. And then presented back. Brian, your triggers have been terrible. You only got 1. That one time that Manlong didn't touch a deck, you got a crit trigger. Buddy. I don't know how he's winning, actually. He's doing so well, though. Yeah, buddy. I feel you, man. I feel you. You're just a no-trigger Andy. But let's take a look at the drive check. Let's jump to the drive check. Here's a drive check. Here's a drive check. All right, we're going to see it. Boom. First card. Is that a critical trigger? Dang. That's crazy. You finally got a trigger. And the second one is the Nightmare Painter. Guys. Manlong's not cheating. There's no way he would put a critical trigger to the top of the deck, right? Manlong actually loses this game. The reality is, Manlong in this situation, I think, messed up his shuffle. Because let's look at later on. So funny enough, later on, around 21 minutes, they're talking, they're having some post-match banter, and Manlong goes, hey, can we, let's take a look at the top cards of the deck. What's the damage there, bro? You see? He just wants to see. He wants to see. Why? How did this happen? How was it crit at the top? I think you'll find this quite funny. So first card, it's Apocalypse Bat. Isn't that crazy? Those are the two cards he puts at the bottom of the deck. And that kind of just tells me that, yeah, he screwed up that one. You know, mistakes happen. All these cards, by the way, are just going to be blanks. And if you look at how the game would progress, the only way that Manlong will probably win is that he kills his opponent from like 1 to 6, and hopefully your opponent gets no damage. Luckily his opponent would have gotten no damage checks, but doesn't matter. Right, doesn't matter. Brian wins the game. Manlong accidentally stacked a crit to the top of the deck, and that's that. So those are basically all the sequences I want to show you. Those are all the sequences I did find out. I do want to point out that the only time Brian triggered a critical was at the beginning, when Manlong did not stack the deck or did not manipulate the deck because he couldn't. There wasn't a search on that turn. And the other time he triggered a crit was at the end, where it was likely that he kind of messed up, accidentally put a crit to the top. But then the sequence was there, right? The Painter and the Apocalypse Bat came right after that. So that's just my thoughts, right? So overall, I think all these, you know, coincidences, I don't think it is, aren't really coincidences. I think if you believe that they were all coincidences, you can probably just win like 3 lottos, because that's how small the probability is. Probably even lower, right? I don't know. You will probably believe anything. But again, it's still, the evidence is there. He didn't get banned, right? He didn't get banned. So I will leave it up to you to decide if Manlong is a cheater or not, or he's doing the dodgy or not, right? Cheaters offer nothing at all to your game. They are a net negative. They ruin tournaments. They ruin competitive integrity. They shame your community, right? Every time like a cheater is exposed from X location, there is, you know, people feel shame. Like if you find out someone from your locals is a cheater, that entire locals feels bad. They literally offer nothing. That first, you know, the first timer who comes to play and loses to a cheater, once they find out they get cheated, do they really feel good? They ruin tournaments. All the tournaments that Manlong has joined are now in question as to whether, you know, he did it legitly or not. Like, anyone who's associated with him probably also feels bad. It just, cheaters just offer nothing. When I look at all the cheating scandals that have been popping up in One Piece, it negatively affects me from wanting to ever play that game. Because what am I going to do? I'm going to enter a tournament and face like 9 cheaters. Cheaters are just bad. Cheaters aren't victims. They're the only people who benefit from their cheating. Everyone else is a victim. I feel bad for the casters, man. Like Orange and JJ having to cast this. It's just the negative. There's nothing good. Think it like it's such a negative that, you know, online tournaments, you can't put good prizes there anymore, because what's going to happen? People are going to cheat, right? Cheaters don't make our prizes any better. There's just nothing good. If you see cheating, if you know someone is a cheater, don't bother protecting them. Don't protect them. If they're your friend, confront them. Let them know they're doing the wrong thing, and they're just being bad. I also want to say that in a lot of other card games, you know, Manlong would likely be banned with this evidence that was given. So in Magic the Gathering, for example, I think there's videos, there's VODs of a lot of this going on, especially people getting caught on camera, doing the kind of glance, the bottom deck check, and then stacking the opponent's deck kind of thing. I think like Nikachu, I watched that channel for a lot of this funny content. Well, not funny content, but it is serious. In other games, I think they would be banned already, but hey, that's in other card games, I guess. I also want to say that if you're at a tournament and you ever encounter anything dodgy, or you feel something is sus, let a judge know, right? Let a judge know ASAP. things can be dealt at tournaments better than, you know, post-tournament, right? I know a lot of people, you know, they go, oh, that tournament, I had a really terrible tournament series experience, something happened, and now I'm telling people about it. Unless you have, like, video evidence, right? And even if you do, like, here, it's very, very hard to kind of... You're going to need to take more steps to go back and take a look, right? If a judge is on the scene and sees it, though, bam, things can immediately get into action. So, when you... Don't be afraid to call judges if you don't feel comfortable about a situation. And don't be afraid to appeal decisions. At worst case, even if, like, nothing is done, at least the judges know that, you know, something is amiss here. They can put it on their radar, right? They can mark maybe a player, you know, there's been a report here. And if there's many reports, then something can be done immediately, right? So don't be afraid to call judges. Again, I want to say that don't witch hunt people. I know there will still be people who probably do defend Manlong. I don't want you to go out there and say, like, you're all bad people. It is what it is. Not everyone is going to believe what we present. It is just how it is, but don't go on witch hunts. That's the last thing I want to do. In terms of cheaters, right, they will... What happens sometimes is that once they get caught, they go play other games. So what I want you to do is, if you know someone who cheats or does dodgy stuff, let people you know, because then they'll tell people in other, you know, places as well, other games, and then they'll get messages, and at least more awareness is shared, right? So let people know that, and also don't be afraid to call out cheating when you see it, right? I think it's important that... I think in other games, people are way more free in just kind of telling as it is. I think in Vanguard, in Bushiroad games, we're kind of a bit more reserved. We vague post a lot. But I don't think that's good. I think if you see a cheater and you have evidence, go out there and just let people know. Like I've been saying the whole time, it's all about awareness. As a player, though, how do you stop yourself from being accused of cheating? Don't look at the bottom card of your opponent's deck. Just play normally, right? Play normally, and you won't be accused of cheating. A lot of what happens with cheating is intent. If you shuffle in a weird way, maybe change the shuffle, but at the same time, what other things are you doing? Are you looking down when you shuffle? Are you picking up your opponent's deck first, looking at the bottom card, and then doing a weird shuffle? A lot of it, I think you'll find that it's easy to spot a cheater, especially when you have VODs and all this. And it's easy to know when someone, like, misplayed and all that. So that's just something else I want to say. A lot of people misplay. Unfortunately, this is how it is. We're all human beings. Don't throw around, like, the cheater word as often. I know the two words, or the two terms that card gamers like to throw around is cheaters and DQ, right? It's like, oh, I did a mistake and I got DQ'd, when they mean game loss. But a lot of times they also say, oh, that guy did a mistake. He is a cheater. No, he's not a cheater, right? Cheating needs to have intent. So let's not just willy-nilly throw around the cheating terminology. But when we do need to do it, we should do it. So that's kind of all I wanted to say. Personally, I do think Manlong has done some pretty dodgy stuff. I think he is a cheater. But I will let you decide if he cheated or not. If you still believe Manlong is a legit player, then, you know, if you play against him, just have a fun game. But if you do think he's doing some shady stuff, maybe be careful when you play against him. Be a bit more careful. Maybe get a judge involved if you think anything's wrong. And overall, I do think Bushiroad did make a wrong decision, a bad decision here. But I don't want to see people kind of, you know, if there's any harassment of employees, and don't do that. That's just the immature thing to do, right? Be a bigger person. Be the right person. And, you know, continue playing card games the correct way. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you all for watching. I know it's been a long one. A lot of me kind of just going through VODs. If you want to see the document and kind of go through it yourself, it is at the bottom. I've linked it. And hopefully, you know, we can all make a better card game community. And hopefully this gets spread more. Maybe even to the Japanese side, guys. I know they might want to know because Daivang is coming. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Hopefully in a more happy and better video. All right. Bye.